The Mekong Delta doesn't sleep. It breathes, thick, wet, suffocating breaths that smell like rotting vegetation and ancient mud. The water moves and whispers. The jungle canopy blocks the stars. And somewhere in that darkness, in the maze of rivers and channels that spiderweb through southern Vietnam, something moves that makes even the Viet Cong afraid. They called them Ma Rung, jungle ghosts. June 1968, a firebase 30 clicks west of Saigon. The air inside the briefing hooch is thick enough to chew, the overhead fan doing nothing but redistributing the humidity. Petty Officer First Class Marcus Webb sits in the back row, trying to look like he belongs there, and failing. 24 years old, SEAL Team 2, in country for 6 weeks. He's the youngest operator in the platoon, and everyone knows it. More importantly, everyone feels it. There's a difference between passing BUDS training and being baptized in the Delta's black water, and Webb hasn't crossed that line yet, not in the eyes of the men who matter. Chief Petty Officer Frank Dozier stands at the front, a map of the Rung Sat Special Zone spread across the plywood table. Dozier's 41, ancient by SEAL standards, with a face like carved teak and eyes that have seen things they can't unsee. He's been running operations in the Delta since '66, back when the SEAL program was so new that half the Navy didn't even know they existed. He looks at Webb with the kind of assessment that makes your spine straighten involuntarily. Webb, Dozier's voice carries the gravel of 1,000 cigarettes. Webb, you're on point tonight. The words land like a physical blow. Point position, leading the patrol through hostile territory. It's either a vote of confidence or a test designed to expose weakness. With Dozier, it's impossible to tell which. "Roger that, Chief," Webb responds, keeping his voice level. Across the hooch, Petty Officer Second Class Tony Ramirez catches Webb's eye and gives the smallest shake of his head, a warning. Ramirez has been in country for 8 months, which makes him a veteran by Delta standards. He's tried to mentor Webb, but there's only so much you can teach before the jungle itself becomes the instructor. After the briefing, Webb steps out into the twilight. The base is coming alive with that pre-mission energy, nervous, coiled, sharp. He checks his Stoner 63 for the 3rd time, knowing it's ready, but needing something to do with his hands. "You good?" Ramirez appears beside him, voice low. "Yeah, I'm good." "You don't look good. You look like you're about to shit yourself." Webb tries to laugh, but it comes out wrong. It's my first time on point." "I know. Everyone knows." Ramirez lights a cigarette, the match flare briefly illuminating his face. "Look, Dozier, he's testing you. He does this to everyone. He's been riding you since you got here because he needs to know you won't fold when things go sideways. And if I do fold, then we all die." Ramirez says it without malice, just fact. That's how it works out here. We're not like the conventional units. We don't have platoons backing us up. It's 6 guys in the dark with the entire VC infrastructure trying to kill us. Everyone has to be perfect or everyone dies. The weight of that settles on Webb's shoulders like wet concrete. He joined the SEALs to prove something. To his father, maybe, a career Marine who'd looked at his son's decision to join the Navy with barely concealed disappointment. To himself, definitely. Webb had made it through BUDS in the top 10%. He'd aced every training evolution. On paper, he was an elite operator. But the Delta doesn't care about paper. "Why did Dozier pick me?" Webb asks quietly. Ramirez exhales smoke. "Because tonight matters. We're going after a VC tax collector in the Rung Sat. Guy's been bleeding the villagers dry, sending funds up to North Vietnamese regulars. Intelligence says he's meeting with a courier tonight. If we can snatch him, we might roll up an entire supply network." "So why put the new guy on point for an important op?" "Because Dozier thinks you can handle it. He just doesn't know if you think you can handle it." Ramirez drops the cigarette and crushes it. "Fear's good, Webb. Keeps you sharp. But doubt will kill you faster than any bullet. You need to choose which one you're carrying into that jungle. 2,300 hours. The patrol boat river slides through the black water like a shark, engine noise swallowed by the delta's ambient sound. Webb sits at the bow, face painted with green and black camo, every piece of gear taped down to prevent noise. The six-man team is silent. Dozier at the helm, Ramirez checking his car 15, Mike Bradford, the team's radio man, adjusting his PRC-25, Doc Jensen, the corpsman, methodically inventorying his medical supplies with the focus of a man who knows he'll need them. And Billy Hayes, the quiet Texan sniper who seems more comfortable in the jungle than in civilization. They insert 2 clicks from the target village. The boat slows, becomes silent. One by one, the seals slip into the water without a sound. The delta receives them. Webb feels it close around him, water temperature identical to blood, thickness that makes swimming feel like moving through gelatin. His feet find mud bottom. He pushes forward, weapon held above the waterline, moving toward the tree line that's barely visible against the darkness. This is the moment every SEAL trains for and fears, the transition from water to land, exposed, vulnerable. If the VC are waiting, this is where they'll spring it. But nothing moves except the night birds in the water. They reach the bank. Webb goes up first, point position, exactly as ordered. The jungle canopy swallows him immediately. He takes a knee, weapon up, scanning. Behind him, the others emerge like specters, spreading into tactical formation. Dozier's hand touches Webb's shoulder. 2 taps. Move out. Webb begins navigating through the jungle using the terrain features he memorized from the map. No compass, no light, just dead reckoning and instinct. Every step is a calculated risk. The jungle floor is booby trap heaven. Punji stakes, pressure mines, tripwires connected to grenades or alarm systems. His breathing sounds impossibly loud in his own ears. His heartbeat drums against his ribs. 20 meters, 50, 100. The village materializes ahead, a collection of hooches on stilts above the tidal mud. Cooking fires reduced to embers, the smell of fish sauce and wood smoke. Dogs sleeping in the shadows. Webb freezes, hand up. The patrol stops. He's seen something. Movement near the largest hooch. 2 men, maybe 3, talking in low voices. One of them gestures, and in the ember light, Webb catches the profile. There's the target. He signals back to Dozier. Target acquired. The chief moves forward, confirms the sighting, and then begins coordinating the snatch. Hand signals only. Hayes moves to overwatch position. Bradford sets up with the radio. Jensen stays ready with medical. Ramirez and Webb will execute the actual capture with Dozier. It's textbook. Perfect. Too perfect. That's when Webb notices the dogs haven't moved. 3 dogs, all visible, all completely still despite 6 armed men creeping through their village. The realization hits him like cold water. They're dead. The dogs are dead, positioned to look like they're sleeping. It's a trap. Before we go further into what happens next, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment letting us know where in the world you're watching from. We love connecting with our community across the globe. Now let's get back to the Delta. Webb's hand shoots up, fist closed. Emergency stop. But it's a split second too late. The jungle erupts. Muzzle flashes blossom in the darkness like deadly flowers. The distinctive crack of AK-47s tear the night apart. The VC have been waiting, hidden, patient, and now they spring the ambush with professional precision. Webb's training takes over before his mind catches up. He's moving, firing controlled bursts from his stoner, already identifying firing positions by muzzle flash. Behind him, the team reacts with the smooth coordination of hundreds of training hours. But they're caught in the kill zone. Ramirez goes down. Not dead, Webb hears him cursing, which means he's alive, but hit. Break contact, Dozier's voice cuts through the chaos. Move, move, move. Hayes' sniper rifle booms, suppressing a machine gun position. Bradford is on the radio calling in their situation. Doc Jensen is already dragging Ramirez toward cover, returning fire one-handed.
Webb lays down covering fire.
But his mind is screaming one thought over and over. This is my fault. I should have seen it sooner. I should have called it before we got this close. They fight their way back toward the waterline, bounding Overwatch, each seal covering the others in a deadly choreography. Webb's weapon runs dry. He drops the magazine, loads a fresh one, keeps firing. The VC are pursuing, trying to cut them off from the water. A figure appears in front of Webb, so close he can smell the man's sweat. They fire simultaneously. Webb feels the shock of the AK rounds passing inches from his head. His burst catches the VC fighter's center mass, and the man drops. They hit the water. The PBR crew, hearing the firefight, has brought the boat in close, risking everything. The SEALs pile aboard, Jensen working on Ramirez even as the boat's .50 caliber opens up, hammering the shoreline. The boat guns its engine, and they're racing through the channels, leaving the ambush behind. Back at base, under the harsh lights of the medical hooch, the adrenaline drains away, and reality sets in. Ramirez took a round through the thigh. Clean through, no bone hit, but he's down for at least a month. Doc Jensen has him stabilized, but the bullet holes in Ramirez's leg are an accusation Webb can't ignore. Dozier is outside, debriefing the boat crew. When he comes into the hooch, his face is unreadable. Webb, outside, now. They stand in the humid darkness between buildings. Webb can hear generators rumbling, distant radio chatter, the normal sounds of a firebase at night, but all of it feels very far away. "You want to tell me what happened out there?" Dozier asks. His voice is level, but there's steel underneath. "I called the halt as soon as I realized it was a trap, Chief. The dogs were... I know about the dogs. I saw them too, 3 seconds before you called it." Dozier lights a cigarette, the flame briefly illuminating his weathered face. 3 seconds, Webb. You know what you can do in 3 seconds? Webb says nothing. In 3 seconds, you can clear a room. You can call in a fire mission. You can save a life or lose one. Dozier exhales smoke. You had point. Your job was to see that ambush before we were in it. You didn't. Ramirez paid the price. The words land like physical blows. Webb wants to defend himself, wants to explain that he spotted it as fast as humanly possible, that even Dozier only saw it 3 seconds earlier. But he knows it doesn't matter. On point, you're not allowed to be almost good enough. I'm sorry, Chief. Sorry doesn't reload a magazine. Sorry doesn't stop bleeding. Dozier studies him. You know what your problem is, Webb? You're still proving you belong here. Every step you take, every decision you make, there's this voice in your head asking if you're good enough. And that hesitation, that half-second of self-doubt, that's what almost got us killed. I can do better. Can you? Or are you just saying what you think I want to hear? Dozier drops his cigarette. I've seen 100 guys like you come through. Top of their class. Perfect scores. They get to the Delta and discover that all their training didn't prepare them for what it actually feels like to be hunted in the dark. Some of them adapt. Some of them get people killed. I need to know which one you are. Give me another chance, Chief. It's not about chances. It's about whether you can let go of whatever you're trying to prove and just do the job. Dozier starts to walk away, then stops. Your father was a Marine, right? Webb tenses. Yes, Chief. And you joined the Navy to piss him off, or to prove you're as tough as he is. The accuracy of the question is like a knife. Does it matter? It does if you're still fighting that fight in your head instead of the one right in front of you. Dozier's voice softens just slightly. Out here, nobody gives a damn about your daddy issues or your need to prove yourself. We care if you can keep us alive. That's it. That's the only measure that matters. He walks away, leaving Webb standing in the darkness with the weight of truth settling on his shoulders. Inside the team hooch, Ramirez is laid up with his leg elevated. Webb enters quietly, expecting anger or resentment. Instead, Ramirez looks up and says, "Stop doing that." Doing what? Looking like a kicked puppy. I got shot. It happens. Dozier chewed you out. That also happens. Ramirez shifts, wincing. You spotted the trap, Webb. Maybe not as fast as you should have, but you spotted it. A less observant pointman wouldn't have seen it at all, and we'd all be dead. Dozier said, I know what Dozier said. I've gotten the same speech. So has everyone on this team. He reaches for a canteen. He's hard on you because the Delta demands perfection. But here's what he's not telling you. Nobody's perfect. We just have to be perfect enough. Webb sits on the edge of a cot. How do you do it? How do you stop second-guessing everything? You don't. You just learn to second-guess faster. Ramirez grins, then turns serious. Look, you want to know the real secret of being a SEAL in the Delta? It's not about being fearless. It's about being more afraid of letting your teammates down than you are of dying. When that switch flips, when your brothers matter more than your own survival, that's when you stop hesitating. The words sit in the air between them. I'm sorry you got shot, Webb says quietly. Yeah, well, at least I get to spend a month flirting with the nurses in Saigon while you guys are getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. Silver linings. Ramirez's expression shifts. But do me a favor. When you go back out, and you will go back out, don't carry my blood with you. Don't let it make you timid. Let it make you better. 3 days later, intelligence intercepts change everything. The ambush wasn't random. The VC tax collector we'd been hunting had been tipped off. Someone in the local Vietnamese infrastructure, someone with access to American operational information, is feeding intelligence to the enemy. There's a spy in the network. More than that, the VC have become so afraid of SEAL operations that they're setting elaborate traps, dedicating significant resources to hunting the hunters. The SEAL's reputation has grown to mythic proportions. The VC tell stories about the Maroon, the ghosts that emerge from the water, kill silently, and vanish before anyone can react. They've started offering bounties for dead SEALs, significant money that speaks to genuine fear. But fear is a double-edged weapon. The VC are adapting, learning, setting their own ambushes. Dozier calls the team together in the hooch. Even with Ramirez gone, they're still operational. 5 men. 6 counting the new guy they've pulled in from another platoon, a quiet operator named Kowalski, who has a reputation for being able to navigate the Delta blindfolded. We've got a new mission, Dozier begins, and it's different from anything we've run before. He spreads a map on the table. The tax collector we missed? Intelligence has a new location on him. He's moved deeper into the Rung Sat, into an area the VC think is safe. They're wrong. We're going to prove it. Standard snatch? Haas asks. No, we're going to send a message. Dozier's eyes are hard. The VC think they can outplay us by setting ambushes. They think knowing we're coming gives them an advantage. So we're going to do something they won't expect. We're going to walk straight into their stronghold, eliminate the target, and leave a calling card that makes it clear nowhere is safe. Not anymore. Webb feels his pulse quicken. What kind of calling card, Chief? We're going to make them think actual ghosts are hunting them. Dozier pulls out photographs. Psychological warfare. We hit fast, we hit silent, and leave evidence that messes with their heads. Kill the lights, vanish into the water, make them afraid of the dark. Doc Jensen speaks up, voice thoughtful. You're talking about terrorizing them. I'm talking about making them so afraid of us that they stop sleeping, stop eating, stop functioning as an effective force. He looks at each man. The Delta's a psychological battlefield as much as a physical one. Right now, they're adapting to us. We need to evolve past their adaptations. We need to become something they can't prepare for because they can't understand it. It's a shift in strategy. Up until now, SEAL operations have been about precision strikes and intelligence gathering. What Dozier is proposing is something darker, turning themselves into living nightmares. What's the operational timeline? Kowalski asks. 48 hours. New moon, total darkness. We insert deep, move slow, and strike when they're convinced they're safe. Webb feels his pulse quicken. What kind of operation, Chief? He spreads a map on the table. The tax collector we missed? Intelligence has a new location on him. He's moved deeper into the Rung Sat, into an area the VC think is safe. They're wrong. We're going to prove it. Standard snatch? Haas asks. No, we're going to send a message. Dozier's eyes are hard. The VC think they can outplay us by setting ambushes. They think knowing we're coming gives them an advantage. So we're going to do something they won't expect. We're going to walk straight into their stronghold, eliminate the target, and leave a calling card that makes it clear nowhere is safe. Not anymore. Webb feels his pulse quicken. What kind of calling card? We're going to make them think actual ghosts are hunting them.
Dozier pulls out photographs. Psychological warfare. We hit fast, we hit silent, and leave evidence that messes with their heads. Kill the lights, vanish into the water. Make them afraid of the dark. Doc Jensen speaks up, voice thoughtful. You're talking about terrorizing them. I'm talking about making them so afraid of us that they stop sleeping, stop eating, stop functioning as an effective force. He looks at each man. The Delta is a psychological battlefield as much as a physical one. Right now, they're adapting to us. We need to evolve past their adaptations. We need to become something they can't prepare for because they can't understand it. It's a shift in strategy. Up until now, SEAL operations have been about precision strikes and intelligence gathering. What Dozier is proposing is something darker, turning themselves into living nightmares. What's the operational timeline?
Kowalski asks, 48 hours. New moon. Total darkness. We insert deep, move slow, and strike when they're convinced they're safe. Webb's mind races. This isn't the kind of operation they trained for in California. This is something else. Something that requires not just skill, but a willingness to become what the enemy fears most. After the briefing, Hayes corners Webb near the ammunition bunker. You ready for this? The sniper asks. I think so. That's not good enough. Dozier's designing this op to push all of us past our limits. He's including you because he wants to see if you'll break or bend. Hayes checks his rifle scope, making minute adjustments. What happened on the last patrol? Everyone's already forgotten it, except you. You need to let it go. Ramirez got shot, and he's alive. People get shot. People die. That's the job. Hayes' voice is matter of fact, no emotion. You keep carrying guilt, it'll slow you down. Out there, in the Rung Sat, during a new moon, slow means dead. How do you do it? How do you just turn off the emotion? Hayes is quiet for a long moment. I don't. I just point it in a different direction. The VC we're hunting, they're not abstract enemies. They're the guys who will torture a village chief's daughter to get information, who will plant mines that blow the legs off kids, who will put a bounty on us and parade our bodies if they win. He looks at Webb directly. I don't feel guilty about hunting them. I feel guilty when I miss. The insertion happens during a thunderstorm. The PBR navigates through rain so heavy it's like moving through a waterfall. Lightning splits the sky, brief illumination showing the maze of channels and islands that make up the Rung Sat. Thunder drowns out the engine noise. They insert 4 clicks from the target, further than usual. The plan is to move slowly, avoiding all contact, becoming part of the environment. Webb slips into the water, and it's like entering another world. Warm, dark, alive, with things he can't see but can feel moving around him. His fatigues are already soaked with rain, so the water makes no difference. He pushes forward, finding the rhythm. Move slow, breathe quiet, become invisible. On the bank, the team consolidates. Dozier uses a red lens flashlight to check the map one last time, then they move out. Kowalski takes point this time. Webb is second in line, learning from watching how the veteran operator moves. There's a fluidity to his movement that seems almost supernatural. He glides through the jungle, avoiding obstacles that Webb can barely see, navigating by some sixth sense. They move for 2 hours, silent, methodical. The storm provides cover, masking sound and scent. When they're 1 click out, Dozier signals a halt. They'll wait here until the storm passes, then make the final approach in the eerie quiet that follows monsoon rains. Webb settles into position, back against a tree, weapon across his lap. The rain pounds down. He's already exhausted, but they haven't even begun the actual operation. Hayes appears next to him, materializing out of the darkness. You good? The sniper whispers. Webb nods. Listen. When we hit the target, it's going to be different from what you're expecting. Dozier's going to do things. Just stay focused on your sector. Don't think. React. Before Webb can ask what that means, Hayes melts back into the jungle. The rain stops at 0200 hours. The silence that follows is absolute. They move. The target location is a hamlet built on an island in the channel system. Intelligence indicates the tax collector and his security element, 6VC fighters, are holed up in the main hooch, believing the storm and their remote location provide security. They're wrong. The team reaches the hamlet's perimeter. There are no guards posted. The VC are that confident. Dossier signals the plan. Hayes to overwatch, Jensen and Kowalski to secure the perimeter. Webb and Dossier will make entry. It's a vote of confidence. Dossier is bringing Webb into the kill zone. They move toward the hooch, steps perfectly synchronized. The structure is elevated on bamboo stilts, a ladder leading up to the entrance. Webb can hear voices inside, casual conversation, laughter. They have no idea death is standing below them. Dossier produces a knife, hands one to Webb, points to his own weapon, makes a cutting gesture. No guns, silent kills only. Webb's heart hammers. This isn't shooting from cover. This is close quarters, knife work, the most intimate kind of violence. They go up the ladder, smooth, silent. Inside, 4 men sit around a small fire, eating rice. 2 others sleep against the far wall. Dossier moves like liquid shadow. His knife finds the first target before the man can register movement. Webb, operating on pure instinct and training, engages the second target. The knife work is brutal, efficient, exactly as they trained. But training doesn't prepare you for the reality, the resistance of flesh, the sound, the weight of a man dying in your hands. The other 2 men around the fire are reacting, reaching for weapons. Dossier's already there, moving with speed that seems impossible for a man his age. Webb transitions to the sleepers, neutralizing them before they're fully awake. 15 seconds. 6 men dead. The silence that follows is deafening. Webb is shaking. His hands are covered in blood. The water runs pink, then red, then pink again. He scrubs until his skin is raw, but he can still feel it. Dossier appears beside him. "First close kill?" the chief asks. Webb nods, not trusting his voice. "Yeah." "That never gets easier." Dossier washes his own hands. "But it gets necessary. You understand the difference?" I don't know. The man you killed tonight, he was taking food from starving villagers and sending money north to buy weapons that kill American soldiers. He was doing it through terror and violence. You stopped him, permanently. That's not murder. That's war. It felt like murder. Good. The day it stops feeling wrong is the day you've become something you shouldn't be. But feeling it and letting it paralyze you are different things. You did your job tonight. No hesitation, no second guessing. You saw what needed doing and you did it. That's what I needed to know about you. Webb looks at him. Was this whole op a test? Every op is a test. But yeah, this one especially. Dossier's face softens slightly. You've been trying to prove you're good enough since you got here. Tonight, you proved it. More importantly, you proved it to yourself. I saw it in your eyes when we were moving through that hooch. You weren't thinking about your father or your insecurities or whether you measured up. You were thinking about the mission and your teammates. That's the switch Ramirez told you about. You flipped it. The words feel like victory. Instead, they feel like loss. Like something innocent in Webb has died along with those men in the hooch. Does it get easier, Chief? The killing? No, but the certainty does. Right now, you're wondering if you're a good person who did a bad thing or a bad person who finally showed his true nature. Eventually, you'll realize you're just a person who does necessary things in an unnecessary war. Dossier heads toward the door, then pauses. Get some rest. We have another mission in 36 hours. The intelligence haul from the operation is significant. Documents revealing supply routes, names of VC infrastructure, planned operations. But more valuable than any document is the psychological impact. The story of the Ma Rung spreads through the Viet Cong network like wildfire. 6 men killed without a sound, no survivors, just bodies, blood, and an ace of spades. The VC start seeing ghosts in every shadow. Sentries become paranoid, sleep-deprived. They burn lights all night, which makes them targets. They bunch together for security, which makes them ineffective. The SEALs have weaponized fear itself. Over the next 6 weeks, the team runs 17 operations. They refine their psychological warfare tactics. They become experts at appearing and disappearing, at creating an aura of supernatural dread. The VC put out warnings. Stay away from the water at night. Don't trust the darkness. The Americans have demons that hunt in the Delta. And Webb transforms. Not all at once, not in a single moment, but operation by operation. He sheds the need to prove himself and becomes something harder, more focused. The doubt that used to plague him doesn't disappear, but it becomes manageable, background noise rather than a paralyzing force. He and Dozier develop a rhythm, an understanding. The chief stops testing him and starts trusting him. In the Delta, that shift is everything. One night, 2 months after the first operation, Webb and Dozier sit on the deck of the PBR as it transits back from another successful mission. The Delta is unusually quiet, just the sound of water and engine. "You've changed," Dozier says, not looking at him. "Have I? When you first got here, you moved like you were afraid someone was grading you. Now you move like you know exactly what you're doing." Webb considers this. "I still don't know if I'm good enough." "Nobody does. That's the secret. Every operator I've ever known, the good ones at least, they all have that voice asking if they measure up. The difference is you've learned to tell that voice to shut up and work." "Is that what you do?" Dozier is quiet for a long moment. "You want to know something? I've been running ops in the Delta for 3 years. I've killed more men than I can count. I've turned psychological warfare into an art form. And every single morning, I wake up wondering if today's the day I finally make the mistake that gets everyone killed." The admission is shocking, coming from the unflappable chief. "How do you deal with it?" "I don't. I just keep moving forward, because the alternative is letting fear win. We're not heroes, Webb. We're just men doing a job that somebody has to do. The minute we start believing our own legend, we get sloppy. So yeah, I'm afraid. I'm uncertain. I carry every death, ours and theirs, but I don't let it stop me." It's the most honest Dozier has ever been, and Webb understands it's a gift, a sharing of burden. "Thank you, Chief, for not giving up on me. I never gave up on you. I just had to wait for you to stop giving up on yourself." Dozier drops his cigarette into the water. "You're a good SEAL, Webb, not because you're fearless or perfect, because you're scared and flawed, and you do the job anyway. That's what makes someone a ghost in the Delta." The war continues. The operations continue. SEAL Team 2 becomes legendary. Their tactics are studied, replicated. The Ace of Spades becomes a calling card, recognized across the Delta. The VC post guards that refuse to patrol. Entire areas become effectively controlled by American forces because the enemy is too terrified to operate at night. But for Webb, the war becomes something else. It becomes a daily struggle between the person he was and the person the Delta is making him. Every mission chips away at his innocence. Every close kill, every ambush, every narrow escape, they accumulate weight. He writes letters home that he never sends. Letters to his father, trying to explain what he's become. Letters to his younger self,
warning him about the cost of proving yourself. Letters to the men he's killed, apologies they'll never hear. Ramirez returns from recovery and immediately notices the change. "You've got the look now," he tells Webb one afternoon. "What look?" "The Delta look, the one that says you've seen behind the curtain and can't unsee it." Ramirez studies him. "How you holding up?" "I'm fine." "That's what everyone says, right up until they're not fine." Ramirez sits down next to him. "You need to talk about it?" Webb wants to unload everything he's carrying, but he doesn't know where to start. How do you explain what it feels like to be so good at killing that the enemy thinks you're supernatural? How do you describe the pride and shame that come in equal measure? I thought it would feel different, being good at this." "How'd you think it would feel?" "Victorious. Powerful. Like I'd finally proven something." Webb looks at his hands. "I still don't know if I'm good enough." "Yeah, that's combat. The movies don't show you that part. The exhaustion that settles in your bones. The way violence becomes routine until you can't remember what normal feels like. But you know what else the movies don't show? The brotherhood. The fact that every man in this platoon would die for you without hesitation. That's real too. Remember that when the dark thoughts come. It's the lifeline Webb needs, a reminder that the isolation he feels is an illusion, that he's not alone in the darkness. 3 months into his deployment, Webb's team gets tasked with their deepest penetration yet. A high-value target has been located in the heart of the Rungsat, an NVA colonel coordinating operations across multiple provinces. Taking him out could disrupt enemy activity for months. But the location is a fortress, multiple sentries, interlocking fields of fire. The VC have learned from every SEAL operation and designed this position to be ghost-proof. Dozier gathers the team. "This is the big one. We pull this off, we prove that nowhere in the Delta is safe. We fail, we hand the enemy a propaganda victory and probably die in the process." The plan is audacious. Insert via a tributary that intelligence says is too shallow for boats. Move overland through a supposedly impassable swamp. Hit the target during a changing of the guard when security is momentarily relaxed. Exfiltrate via an emergency extraction point that requires them to hold under fire until helicopters can arrive. Everything that can go wrong probably will. But they're SEALs. Impossible is the job description. The insertion goes wrong immediately. The tributary is shallow, forcing the boat team to drop them off a click further away than planned. The swamp is worse than intelligence suggested. Waist-deep mud that sucks at every step, thick vegetation that blocks navigation. They should abort. Mission parameters have already been violated. Dozier makes the call to continue. They move through the swamp for 6 hours. It's hell. Webb loses track of time, of distance, of everything, except the man in front of him and the need to keep moving. His legs are cramping, his back screams. He's covered in leeches that he'll deal with later. When they finally reach solid ground, they're 2 hours behind schedule and exhausted before the operation even begins. But they're also in position. The target compound materializes through the jungle, a large hooch complex with dedicated guard positions. Webb counts 8 sentries visible, more inside certainly. They wait for the guard change, minute by minute, the window of opportunity approaching. Then Hayes, in the overwatch position, signals. Problem. There's a patrol incoming. 6 VC fighters returning from somewhere, about to walk right through the team's position. The timing is catastrophic. If they engage the patrol, they alert the compound. If they let the patrol pass, they miss their window on the target. Dozier makes a decision that shows why he's the chief. He signals for the team to ambush the patrol, then immediately assault the compound before they can react. It's insane. It violates every tactical principle. It's also their only chance. The patrol walks into the kill zone. The SEALs open up, controlled bursts, every round finding a target. 6 men drop in 3 seconds. Then they're moving, sprinting towards the compound before the sentries can process what's happening. Webb is running on pure instinct. His exhaustion is gone, burned away by adrenaline. He's at the compound wall, boosting Hayes up to Overwatch. He's breaching the door with Kowalski. He's inside clearing rooms with the smooth precision of hundreds of training iterations. The NVA colonel is exactly where intelligence said he'd be. Webb's burst catches him before he can reach his weapon. But the alarm has been raised. The entire compound is mobilizing. "Exfil now!" Dozier's voice cuts through the chaos. They fight their way out. The compound explodes with gunfire. Hayes is methodically eliminating sentries from his perch. Doc Jensen is laying down suppressive fire. Kowalski throws smoke grenades that create a curtain of concealment. They make it to the tree line, but the VC are pursuing. It becomes a running gunfight through the jungle, SEALs bounding back while the enemy masses. Webb's weapon runs dry. He transitions to his pistol, keeps firing. They reach the emergency extraction point, a small clearing barely large enough for a helicopter. Bradford is on the radio, screaming for air support. "Dustoff is 5 minutes out. We need to hold." 5 minutes, an eternity under fire.
The team forms a perimeter. The VC are closing from multiple directions, using fire and maneuver, professional and determined. Dozier takes a round. It spins him around, but he stays on his feet, returning fire with his offhand while his primary arm hangs useless. Webb sees it happen in slow motion. The chief, the unbreakable chief, wounded and vulnerable. Something shifts in Webb. The fear evaporates. The doubt vanishes. There's only one thought. They're not taking him. He moves to Dozier's position, putting himself between the chief and the incoming fire. His Stoner 63 roars, laying down a wall of lead that pushes the VC back. "Webb, fall back!" Dozier yells. "Not without you, Chief!" Kowalski joins them, adding his fire. Then Hayes, who's abandoned his Overwatch position to help with the perimeter. The team contracts around Dozier, every SEAL willing to die to protect their wounded. The helicopter appears overhead, a beautiful, impossible sound. But there's no time for a landing. The fire is too intense. "McGuire rig," the pilot's voice crackles over the radio. "We're doing an extraction by rope." The helicopter hovers, ropes dropping from the sides. It's an emergency extraction method. The SEALs literally harness themselves to ropes while the helicopter lifts them out under fire. They hook up, Dozier first, the wounded chief secured between 2 operators. Webb is the last man to hook up, still firing as the helicopter begins to lift. The ground drops away. They're airborne, dangling from ropes while VC rounds crack past. But they're alive. All of them. At the base hospital, they work on Dozier's shoulder while the team waits outside. Webb sits with his head in his hands, coming down from the adrenaline, his body shaking with delayed shock. Hayes sits next to him. "Hell of a thing you did out there." "I wasn't thinking." That's when you know you're really one of us, when you stop thinking and just react to protect your brothers. He offers him a canteen. "Dozier's going to be fine, by the way. Through and through. No bone damage. He'll be back in 2 weeks. Doc Jensen emerges from the hospital. "He's asking for you, Webb." Inside, Dozier is propped up in bed, his shoulder bandaged, looking annoyed at being injured. "You disobeyed a direct order out there," he says without preamble. "Yes, Chief. I told you to fall back, and you moved forward instead." "Yes, Chief." Dozier studies him for a long moment. "Why?" I met his eyes. "Because we don't leave anyone behind. You taught me that. And because you've spent 3 months teaching me to be a SEAL. I wasn't about to let some NVA gunner undo all that work." The corner of Dozier's mouth twitches, almost a smile. "You know what you did out there? You became what I've been trying to make you since you arrived. Not a soldier trying to prove something. A SEAL protecting his team. He shifts, wincing. When I first met you, I saw a kid who was smart and capable, but fighting ghosts in his head. Today, you became the ghost, instead of fighting it. That's the transformation I was waiting for. The words land with weight. Permission. Absolution. I'm sorry you got shot, Chief. I'm not. It showed me what you're made of, and it'll give me a cool scar to show the grandkids. He turned serious. The colonel you killed was running operations that would have resulted in a lot of dead Americans. What we did today mattered. Remember that when the weight gets heavy. Webb walks out of the hospital into the humid Delta night. The base is quiet, winding down. He finds a spot near the perimeter, sits on a sandbag wall, and looks out into the darkness. Ramirez appears, as he often does. Heard you saved Dozier's life. Heard wrong. I just did what anyone on the team would have done. That's the same thing, brother. You know what the guys are calling you now? I don't want to know. El Fantasma, the ghost. They're saying you moved through that compound like you could see in the dark, like you weren't even human. Webb doesn't feel like a ghost. He feels exhausted and mortal, and increasingly unsure of who he's becoming. Is this what it means to be a SEAL? To become something you don't recognize when you look in the mirror? Ramirez considers the question. Maybe. Or maybe we just become more honest versions of ourselves. The Delta strips away everything that doesn't matter. The ego, the pretense, the civilian politeness. What's left is the core. For you, that core is someone who'll run into fire to save his brothers. That's not something to be ashamed of. But the killing. Yeah, the killing. That's the price we pay to do this job. And it is a price, Webb. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying. But the alternative is to let someone else pay an even higher price. Ramirez lights a cigarette. Every VC fighter we eliminate is one who won't plant a mine that kills a Marine, won't launch a mortar that hits a fire base, won't torture a village chief. The math is simple, even if it doesn't feel good. They sit in silence, two men who've seen too much, but can't unsee it. You think we're making a difference? Webb asks. I think we're making the enemy afraid to operate in the Delta. I think we're protecting the guys who don't have our training. I think we're doing a job that needs doing. Ramirez exhales smoke. Is it enough? I don't know. But it's what we've got. 3 days later, Dozier is released from the hospital against medical advice. His arm is in a sling, but he refuses to be sidelined. He gathers the team for a debriefing on the NVA Colonel operation. Higher Command is calling it one of the most successful SEAL operations of the war. The intelligence haul is significant. Enemy operations in 3 provinces have been disrupted. He looks at each man. More importantly, we proved something to ourselves. When everything went wrong, when the plan collapsed, we adapted and completed the mission. That's the mark of an elite unit. He pulls out a box. Inside are patches, custom-made, unofficial, a ghost rising from water, with the words Mao Rung underneath. The enemy gave us a name. I figured we should own it. He hands one to each operator. When he gets to Webb, he pauses. I misjudged you when you first arrived. Thought you were another college kid playing soldier, trying to live up to some image. I was wrong. You're not playing at anything. You're the real thing. Dozier extends his hand. It's been an honor serving with you, Petty Officer Webb. The handshake is firm. It's not forgiveness because there's nothing to forgive. It's recognition, equality, respect. The team affixes the patches to their uniforms, unofficial but meaningful. They've become what the enemy fears most, not because of superior equipment or tactics, but because they've mastered the psychological battlefield. They've become myths made flesh. That night, Webb writes a letter home, not to his father this time, to himself. I came to Vietnam to prove I was tough enough, strong enough, good enough. What I learned is that none of those questions matter. The only question that matters is, when your brothers need you, will you be there? The answer is yes. It will always be yes.
and that's enough. He seals the letter and puts it with his personal effects, a marker, a moment of transformation captured in words. Outside, the Delta breathes in the darkness. Somewhere out there, the Viet Cong are telling stories about the Ma Rung, the ghosts that emerge from water, who kill without sound, who cannot be stopped or deterred. They're not wrong, but what they don't understand is that the ghosts are just men. Men who faced their fears and doubts and chosen to move forward anyway. Men who've transformed their insecurities into strength and their uncertainty into action. Men who've learned that being good enough isn't about being perfect. It's about being there when it matters most. Webb joins the team at the firebase perimeter. They sit together in comfortable silence, watching the darkness, ready for whatever comes next. Dozier breaks the quiet. "What made you stay in that compound, Webb, when you could have pulled back?" "I thought about it. About my father and my need to prove myself and all the weight I'd been carrying. I realized something in that moment, Chief. I'd been fighting to prove I belonged with you guys. But standing there with you wounded and the enemy closing in, I realized I wasn't fighting to belong anymore. I was fighting because I already did belong. This team, these men, they're my brothers. And you don't abandon your brothers." Dozier nods slowly. "That's the only answer that matters." Hayes speaks up from the shadows. "You know what the crazy thing is? The VC are terrified of us. They think we're something supernatural. But we're just a handful of guys who refuse to quit. That's what makes us ghosts," Kowalski adds. "Not special powers or magic, just the unwillingness to be beaten." It's true. The SEALs in the Delta have become legendary not through individual heroics, but through collective determination. They've mastered their environment. They've mastered their fear. And in doing so, they've become something the enemy cannot comprehend or counter. The legend of the Ma Rung will grow. Stories will be told in villages across the Delta. The VC will continue to fear the darkness and the water. And the SEALs will continue to operate, mission after mission, proving that the legend is real. But for Webb, the real transformation is internal. He's no longer the uncertain operator trying to prove his worth. He's a ghost
Of the Delta, forged in combat, proven in fire, accepted by the men who matter most. His father's approval doesn't matter anymore. The only approval he needs comes from the men sitting beside him, the brothers who've seen him at his worst and his best, and have accepted both. As the night deepens, Ramirez pulls out a harmonica and plays a mournful tune. It's become a ritual after operations, a way to honor the dead and celebrate the living. The team listens in silence, each man alone with his thoughts, but together in their experience. This is what victory looks like in the Delta. Not parades or medals, though those will come. Not glory, though the operations will be studied for decades. Victory looks like 6 men sitting together in the darkness, battered and scarred, and still breathing, still fighting, still refusing to quit. The ghosts of the Delta, mythical to the enemy, human to each other, and that humanity, that brotherhood, that unwavering commitment to each other, that's what makes them truly unstoppable. Webb looks at his teammates, these men who've become his family, and feels something he hasn't felt since arriving in Vietnam. Peace. Not with the war, not with the killing, not with what he's become, but with who he is when it matters most. A man his brothers can count on. A ghost in the Delta. And that's enough. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We bring you these deep dive military narratives every week, stories of courage and transformation that deserve to be remembered. And drop a comment. Let us know where you're watching from. Our community spans the globe,
and we love connecting with fellow history enthusiasts from every corner of the world. Until next time, remember the ghosts who fought in silence and the price they paid to become legends.